We're live. It is Thursday, November 5th, 2020, and I'm going to have a thing to say about November 5th in a minute. 5:03 p.m. I've got the Bob Mueller puppet and baby cannon and tiny baby naval cannon in back of me. The cannons are quivering with excitement at the possibility of booms this evening. And I want to talk a little bit about November 5th. Lots of people have been wishing me happy birthday. So
happy birthday!
Thank you. So I want to tell a story about my birthday. I've always hated my birthday. And I hated it because people, as a kid and a teenager, I don't know why. I just made me
I've only come into hating my birthday as I get older, like really old.
I've just never been into it. Some people love their birthdays. Some people, for me, it's like it makes me. I always try to ignore it until I was in high school, late high school, and I was reading a trashy World War II novel called "The Eagle Has Landed," and there is an IRA terrorist in the book who is having an affair with a woman in a town, and they are lying in bed, and she says to him, "It's November 5th, and we can't have a bonfire because of mean old Adolf." And I thought, why does she want to have a bonfire on my birthday? And that is how I learned about Guy Fawkes Night. And
did you mention this to me when we were going to burn the tiki bar on Guy Fawkes Night, that it was also your birthday? I forgot that.
So I have come to adore Guy Fawkes Day. Because Guy Fawkes Day, let me just tell you all the reasons that I like Guy Fawkes Day. First of all, it is the only holiday in the world devoted to the failure of non-state actors to blow up the great symbols of and organs of state power. And for those who don't know the story of Guy Fawkes, the joke in England is he is the only honest man ever to enter the English Parliament. He entered it with, of course, the intention of blowing it up. He failed. He was drawn and quartered, and his head was put on a spike on Parliament, and it sat there for a really long time. And Guy Fawkes Day, ever since, has been bonfire night in the UK, where it is took on an unfortunately anti-Catholic quality over time. Burn Guy Fawkes in effigy. They would sometimes burn the Pope too. I'm not so into that part of it, but it is a holiday devoted to lawfare themes. I mean, let's just be serious about that.
It is. And then, it is. This is perfect.
There's this guy. Now, what do you think this guy's favorite holiday is? I mean,
Guy Fawkes Day?
She only knows one word, and it's boom. And, she blows things up for a living. She likes bonfires. She looks at them.
Is it a she?
Says,
yeah, you just said this guy.
All baby cannons are gender fluid. They take randomly assigned pronouns.
I did that with my turtle.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just called it a different pronoun every day.
Gets a guy, gets a she, and it is amazing how much people want to gender him. I don't gender baby cannon, but baby cannon says boom.
There's a whole honors thesis right there.
If you're the kind of person or cannon that says boom, you like Guy Fawkes Day. And so tonight, in honor of Guy Fawkes Night, I have a British person coming over to my house for a bonfire, a traditional Guy Fawkes night bonfire. And I'm even going to throw into it.
I like that you got a legit, like you got like a true British person.
I think this British person may even be watching the show. And we are going to burn this.
Whoa! Whoa!
A beautiful Guy
beautiful.
Fawkes mask that's made of resin, and it'll go up in flames on bonfire night.
Please take lots of pictures.
Tonight. So I just want to say, this is how I have come to make peace with my birthday. We are not allowed to have fun anymore. But in lieu of fun, a very bewildered Tim Miller is back with us.
Yeah,
this was a long wind-up. To my intro is usually long, but this one was especially. But I was engaged. I was entertained.
We'll allow it. I loved it. It was great. I also will say that
is it the longest time you've gone without thinking about the election?
I thought you were going to say without speaking. I do like to talk. Maybe it's the longest I've went without speaking. I dozed off a little bit.
I may have gotten you 9 minutes without like focusing on like clicking refresh.
Refresh. That's true.
No, he's got it dialed in. He already told me that it's over.
I've got a boom for everybody, for Guy Fawkes night, for your birthday, and for everything. Yeah. And I've got 2 booms actually. Petra asked me who my favorite RuPaul's Drag Race drag queen of all time is. So my boom for you on that is it's a tie between Evie Oddly, because she's Denver, and Adore Delano, who I adore. So that's boom number 1 for Adore Delano. The bigger boom that non-Petra listeners are probably interested in is that Joe Biden is going to be the president of the United States any damn minute now.
Really?
And
really?
Are
they that close to declaring it?
Fired. As Pennsylvania is having a press conference here while we're on.
Really?
We'll see what that Secretary of State has to say. Hopefully people in the comments can monitor Twitter for us.
Yes. This will not be the first time we have been live on In Lieu of Fun when big news happens, although this might be the biggest.
Well, I don't know if she'll announce numbers or just give a timeline, but for when their numbers are coming in. But Fox News Decision Desk, which is right now the tip of the spear of the resistance, has said that they will...
Just the tip.
The tip of the spear of the resistance. Just the tip, JTT. And they said that if Joe Biden goes ahead in Pennsylvania, which he's going to, they will call the state of Pennsylvania for him, and thus the presidency. And damn, that will be nice. So that's a little boom for all of you who are still nervous, and I understand many people like me understand in our head that we're going to win, but are nervous in their tummies. That's true for me as well, because you never know.
Your tummy. What is that? What is the rattling? You're the baby
cannon quivering.
Getting ready
excitement.
To boom.
Yeah.
Hold on. We have to do... Okay, so first of all, that is worth firing something up about, but I'm going to fire up this... we have to sing happy birthday because we sang happy birthday for me for my birthday in July. Okay. I want to say this, Ben. I like your Guy Fawkes Day claiming for your birthday because I do the same thing. My birthday is July 6th, and when I was young, I used to think that people who were born in proximity to Independence Day were more independent than other people. I actually thought that was how it worked. So I love the Guy Fawkes.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? It's totally right. So we're gonna light your blue button. I just think,
having a birthday where people around the world are celebrating a guy being drawn and quartered is kind of awesome.
It is awesome. Okay, you ready?
Great. Happy birthday. These are matchsticks in a cake. To you. Happy birthday
to you.
To you. Happy birthday, dear Ben. The things went out on their own. Happy birthday to you. Pretend to blow them out. They already went out.
Thank you all, and thanks. Oh, the chat says Trump is down to 50.1% in Pennsylvania. That is not a lead that's going to hold. Folks.
It is happening, people. It is really happening.
Can I actually ask a question? it's not my imagination that Pennsylvania, when there was like 60% reporting, looked really bad, right?
It did.
Like for a while.
And
like
because,
it was like a 10-point difference, like 10 point. They were putting it 10 points for Trump.
And because we can do this now, because the good news is coming and it won't trigger everybody, I just want to tell you a little bit about what it was like between 1 a.m. and 1:40 a.m. Oakland Autonomous Zone time. I moved to the Mountain Time Zone because I refused to fall back this year, so I'm in Oakland Autonomous Zone. So it was between
feelings about time.
So it was between 1 and 1:40 Oakland Autonomous Zone time when the Milwaukee number was not in yet. And he was down. Biden was down about 700,000 votes in Pennsylvania. My human needle was starting to quiver back the wrong direction, and it did look really bad. But what we learned when the Milwaukee number came in is that these mail ballots weren't just tilting Biden. He is winning 85% of the mail ballots from the urban cores. And those are the numbers that are out. And so while we knew that there was going to be this red mirage and that the Biden ballots would come later, I don't think anybody, or maybe some people, I sure didn't realize just like how much. I was thinking, slightly more mail for Biden, not like literally no Republicans in Philadelphia put a ballot in the mail, right? Like they all went in. And that's kind of what ended up. And that's what ended up. Well, that's why Pennsylvania looked so bad on Tuesday.
But I was looking at the New York Times needles, and I don't know what you were looking at, Ben. I'd be interested to know, actually. But I was looking at the New York Times needles, and I don't know what the hell they were like smoking, but they were putting it at 10, like they were like 10 points up, like forecast 10 points up for Trump. And I guess they're just assuming that the needle is only based on the rate of ballots that have currently been counted, and that's their forecast, meaning the ratio.
Was there a New York Times needle for Pennsylvania?
Yes.
No.
Wait, I thought there was a New York Times needle. There was like a.
No,
there was a whole
just
thing.
Florida. It was just Florida, Georgia, North
Carolina, and Georgia.
Maybe this was on election night. It was like, but it was. They were still having like a Pennsylvania like plus 10 for. I remember hovering over it. It had to be on the New York Times. But anyway,
I think it wasn't a needle. It was just the numbers. The numbers looked awful.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
But
my memory is not so great from Tuesday night for undisclosed reasons.
As Lisa Page is my witness, I did not panic Tuesday night.
Not one moment. Not between 3 a.m. and 3:30 when that police car was driving the Milwaukee ballots from the city to the county. Were you asleep by then?
I was asleep by then.
Okay.
I had a gnawing feeling of terror and despair.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling that, okay, we may be in it for the long haul, but we've done this for 4 years. We'll do it for the next 4 years if we have to. I had a little conversation with myself about that, but I did not ever forget 2018, and the fact that the early returns looked much worse than the result turned out to be. There was a big blue shift in 2018, and it was. Maybe I was just painting lipstick on a pig, but I did have the experience of having that conversation with myself and deciding not to panic about it. And I think by the time Biden spoke, I actually believed this was all heading in the right direction, and I have believed that ever since. Yes.
I certainly went to bed with a feeling of doom in my heart. Like I went to bed at like 11.
When did you come around? When did
you went to bed at 11 p.m.? So I just want to explain something. Between 11 p.m. Eastern, which was 9 Oakland Autonomous Zone time, and when I went to bed at what would have been
what happened?
It's 5:30 Eastern. I mean, we went on a journey. girl. Like between 11 and 5 a.m. Eastern, there was a journey, and
No,
I
found out.
definitely-
I just didn't want to be. I just didn't want to be conscious for that journey.
Yeah,
I just wanted to.
That was the good call. That was the right call. I knew, and I was pretty confident the whole night. When the Arizona was call, I felt good. I thought it was going to be narrower than we wanted, but I was pretty confident. And then, that early Pennsylvania number and the Wisconsin number had me a little shook. As those numbers started to come in, which was late in the night on the East Coast, and it really wasn't until I still thought Biden was a very slight favorite the whole time. I never thought Trump was the favorite, but I thought it was close to a coin flip until that Milwaukee batch came in, which was really late, quite like literally 5 hours after Kate was dozing, enjoying her
But the
nightmare.
reason that I decided to go to sleep was because there was not enough information, and all of the information that was available was not going to make me feel better, and there was nothing that I could do. And
That's
I was
fair.
just kind of sitting there, and I was like, I'm just going to be like an anxious mess. And nothing of living through this anxious mess is going to change the outcome or is going to make me feel any better. And when we wake up in the morning, I want to not be hungover and also not be, and also not, not be able to not start mobilizing in some way, basically. Like not to do something. I wanted to be able to do something if things needed to be done. That was like was my.
And I was pretty sad yesterday morning, to be honest, because I still thought Biden was going to win, but I was pretty down about the nature of the win, which I think many people watching this probably share. But I bucked myself up mid-afternoon yesterday, and I was like, here's the deal. Like, we're going to slay this. We're going to slay this guy. And that was the most proximate threat, and we've all worked a long time to try to slay him, and I'm gonna at least enjoy the hell out of it, and then we can worry about what comes next.
Yeah.
So I have thought a lot about this over the last 48 hours, both because of the conversation that Alan Rosenstein and I and Kate had yesterday with a viewer. But also because of conversations that Quinta Jurecic and I have been having over the last 72 hours. And the three of us have written a piece that we won't run until the situation clarifies about, what the result, how we should understand the result, right? And I think, first of all, it is totally legitimate for people to feel a bit of disappointment in this result. We have lanced the big boil, but there's a lot of other boils.
There's
that
a
we
lot of
didn't
little
lance.
cancers.
And this is a situation. I forget which. Is it staph that causes boils? We've got a staph infection, and we've got one really big boil, and we lanced that boil, and that feels really good, but we still have a fucking staph infection, and and I think the election result is really clear about that. That said, getting rid of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Just pause over the enormity of that.
I know.
And just think about
does it
how
having
much
yeah.
What an opportunity to protect the democratic culture of the United States that presents. What an amazing rollback it is of the authoritarian trend worldwide. I mean, let's take a moment to appreciate the grandeur of that. And, Donald Trump is Marine Le Pen. He is,
Yes.
Viktor
Orban.
He is
Berlusconi.
Berlusconi, they lanced that boil too.
I'm just saying that he's all of those people, all of these popular,
but it's
these
Brazil,
crazy popular.
it's the Philippines, it's Poland, and this population turned it back. Did we annihilate it? Did we renounce Satan and all his works? No. Were we hoping that that's what was going to happen? Yeah. And are we allowed to be a little bit demoralized that Mitch McConnell still has a big seat at the table and is going to have, we're not going to have the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We're not going to have like the lustration that we have been dying for. I honor that sense of, like, it's not enough. I really do, and I feel it. But we just got rid of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And let's be, like, if you had told any of us a year ago that you could get rid of Donald Trump but you'd still have Mitch McConnell, take it or leave it, fucking heartbeat, man.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. I want to ask both of you, we talked about, like, the emotional response to the election immediately not going as we expected, but what are you doing? Oh, I was, like, very, like,
I'm putting baby Cannon back.
Oh, okay. I thought for a second, I was like, what are you, like, it looked like you cocked a gun. And I was like, I was like, Ben.
I think I am.
I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, there is, like, this emotional, so I woke up yesterday, 2 days ago? Yeah. What day is today? Thursday. Yesterday. Feeling actually much more hopeful, and positive. And that has only increased as time has gone on. The thing that has made me feel better more than anything is seeing Trump supporters, like, expressing that they know that they're losing, in a weird way, like, that they're just, like, there's, like, weird little signs about, like, being very sad. So, like, I went on Craigslist Free, as I do every day, and someone had posted a thing, like, one American for sale, free. Like, please send me to another country. Like, the sleazeball, misspelled sleazeball, Joe Biden is going to be our president. And I was like, oh, that's a good sign. Like, there's, like, people selling their citizenship that, like, don't want to be here anymore. But I'm kind of curious, but generally, like, I almost feel like a very psychic, emotional response in which the idea that Donald Trump is not going to be our president anymore, and I can really maybe hope and believe in that, has been this weird, like, slow burn. I thought it would be sudden, slow burn catharsis. Like, and I'm just like, I'm in a great mood. I just, like, brought a bunch of tomatoes over to my Trump-loving neighbors and, like, gave, like, and I just went for a drive, and, like, things are okay. Like, everything's gonna be all right. Is anyone else feeling that? Like, it just feels like a load has been lifted in this huge way, or am I, like, premature on that?
No, I'm feeling it. I mean, it's coming in waves, and I'm like everybody, ready for it to be done and to fully have the catharsis. But yeah, I took a couple of real deep breaths, and it's been, like Ben, I have something waiting in the cannon, so to speak, for when the announcement is made to be written. But he's been consuming, before the 2016 election. Before election night, when I was a cocky prick and thought for sure we were going to win, like, one of my biggest comments was, like, I just can't wait to not think about this guy again. Like, he's been consuming my mind ever since I started in the anti-Trump pack that I was with at the time, and I just want to not think about him. And obviously that is not going to ever be possible for us anymore now that he's won. But the way that he consumes a news cycle, the way that it's gaslighting, overwhelms the senses, the way that you have to always be concerned about what the hell craziness might happen. Removing that is a big weight off, and I've definitely had a physical response to it.
Ben, have you felt it?
So I have made a point of trying not to feel it until it's official.
Yeah.
Because I got ahead of the Trump losing the first time thing. And I promised myself I was not going to panic about this, but I was also not going to be premature in celebration. So I've kind of made a point of just trying to turn on my analytic lizard brain and not process any of it yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure a psychologist would have a field day with that. And, to any of you who are psychologists, have at it, man, woman. I'm like, but that's actually one of the emotional management tools that I use is I just try not to process things emotionally until they're real.
Mine is just to sleep. Apparently.
I'm jealous of that.
Tim, did you really stay up that late for all of it? Like, waiting for all of the...
Of course he did.
Yeah, I've only...
But, like, isn't it like blisteringly painful to like wait for
I was
every
up
single one?
I was up when Morning Joe came on
I know, I saw
morning.
your tweet about that.
That was alarming. When Morning Joe came on, that like shook me out of my like days. I was like, oh man, it's morning in the East. Yeah, no, I slept about 3 hours both the last 2 nights. That's about it. But you know, this is prime time for all of us.
Yeah.
This is it.
I haven't slept much, but I'm, you know, we're like I wouldn't have slept the night before Appomattox either, and I'm
really
not,
bad.
that is actually how I feel about this. That this was a hostile takeover attempt of the United States of America by racist, illiberal, authoritarian forces, and we just fucking beat them back. And we didn't win by as much as I wanted to win. We didn't, you know, despoil their property and have
salt the earth.
Sir Sherman's march to the sea and salt the earth, which is what I wanted. But we got Appomattox, and
yeah, but like
we're raising the flag. The battle flag is coming down. The Confederate battle flag.
Not to be a jerk,
down.
but there was only so much that people could do, like on election day and the day, like there was only so much that you could do if you weren't there, like as a poll watcher or as an election counter watcher, or like counting the ballots yourself. Like there was only so much that could happen, like that you could have power over versus like fighting in a battle, which is like a very like kind of like a lot of personal autonomy and like being able to do things. I don't know, not to make like. To make you
tweeted.
Literal, but
I was tweeting.
You tweeted, yes. Thank
All right,
you.
so you know.
My point is like I get that it was a huge deal, but I just kind of like I don't know why I haven't lost sleep over this. It's me and yeah.
I sat up with Lisa Page puppet and just let it wash over me. You know, there is the Lisa Page puppet. And we may hear from her later if she has stuff to say. But in the meantime, Tony Cava, the floor is yours. Whoa, but you're not visible. But now you are.
I'm not visible. So
Momo
says she says relax. Everything's gonna be awesome. And you can tell
Momo's the
she's
best.
really concerned.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me on. Tim, you and Charlie were great on the last Bulwark pod.
Thank you.
That was one of the things that got me to relax. Couple of quick questions. One is there anything Biden can do to work around Mitch McConnell so that he can hopefully get the cabinet he wants put together and maybe even appoint some judges when vacancies come up? And the second question is a little different, but what awful thing was Mike Espy asked to do that even he decided was so abhorrent that he resigned rather than do it?
You mean Mark Esper, I assume.
Mark Esper, I'm sorry, yeah, not Mike Espy.
Yeah.
Would that it were Mike Espy. Go ahead, Tim.
Do you have a thought on Esper? I can take the former. On
take
McConnell.
the former, and I'll punt the latter afterwards.
Okay. Look, yeah, there are ways to get around Mitch McConnell. Part of this, just so everybody knows, and this is to Ben's point earlier, there are some big things that Biden can do that are extremely important that have nothing to do with Mitch McConnell. And getting rid of the Stephen Miller and getting rid of the anti-science people in energy and EPA and the anti-science people running the pandemic response. And, so there's a lot of things that can be done that have nothing to do with McConnell. I also don't think that Biden was actually going to appoint anybody, maybe more than one or two people, that were going to be offensive to Republican senators in the first place. I think that this is a fake thing to be concerned about, that there'll be these huge fights over who the Department of Labor secretary is. Joe Biden's is the type of person that he was going to pick mainstream experience choices. As far as judges and all that concerned, look, obviously the big policy ticket items are not going anywhere in the Senate, but judges and confirmations, COVID relief, I'm slightly more optimistic than some of my colleagues about Mitch feeling forced to work with him on some of that. And I think that there'll be a little bit of a gang. We'll be back to kind of Gang of Six world. I think that Murkowski and Collins and Romney and some others will want to at least do something. I think that there will be some incentives that are a little different from 2009 for Mitch to make him not want to be completely Dr. No. That said, that could be wrong. Mitch could just decide to screw it and try to kneecap Biden from day one. I think that's kind of a known unknown at this point. But I do suspect that there'll be at least some things that they'll get a little Senate gang together to get through. And I think that'll be true in judges too, by the way. I think Mitch will want to pretend like he's taking the moral high ground. He's like already got his big scalp. And I think he'll want to pretend like he's taking the moral high ground on judges. And I think he'll cut a deal that'll allow some judges to get through.
So I largely agree with that, and I actually think the picture may be even a little bit more rosy than that. So first of all, if Biden, as president, has no significant legislative accomplishments, but merely keeps the government functioning, does coronavirus relief, manages the executive branch well, gets rid of a bunch of people and replaces them with serious people who rebuild their agencies, he will be an extremely fine president. The missing thing from our lives over the last several years has not been major pieces of legislation. And so that's thing number one. Thing number two is there's actually a lot of stuff that a Republican administration and a Biden administration, a Republican Senate leadership and Biden could work together on, starting with reforms, pro-democratic reforms that they could not support while Trump was president, but they can support now and they don't have any particular objection to. For example, do you think in the future Mitch McConnell has a problem with the idea that presidential candidates should disclose their tax returns, that there should be more capacious conflict of interest rules? I mean, he's not for conflicts of interest. He's just against dealing with the issue when there's a Republican president. And so I think there's a lot of these things that once you've removed Trump from the picture, there's actually pretty wide consensus about.
So great point.
And Bob Bauer and Jack Goldsmith's book cover a lot of those things. So I think there's actually, we're not going to get the huge voting rights initiative that I think a lot of us want. But the stuff that doesn't have a partisan valence or a partisan impact, I think we really could get a fair bit of. Do you think Mitch McConnell really has a deep-seated problem with emoluments legislation? That he would take the position in principle that some future president should be running, a hotel empire on the side? I don't think so. And so I think there's probably a lot of stuff you can do in that area before you touch kind of third rails. So, I don't know. All right. Toy tanks. The floor is yours.
Toy tanks, thanks for letting me take your joke yesterday. It was pretty great.
It's no problem. I'm doing what I can here, I guess. Sorry for the angle. I'm at work. But I'm wondering what you guys think of the level of success of projects like the Lincoln Project or RVAT, where I'll just read this. Common Dream. Nevertheless, the comparison of exit polls from Tuesday night and from 4 years ago shows that the share of Republican voters who supported Trump increased. Oh.
I'm so ready for this one. Come on, I've already seen this line, but keep reading it for everybody else.
Okay. All right. Republican voters who supported Trump increased from 90% in 2016 to 93% in 2020.
Yeah,
So,
hey Joy, thank you. Yeah, no, it's a good question. I've seen that exit poll thing going around on Twitter a lot, and I'm just so happy you put this on a tee for me. Firstly, I really enjoyed this Ari Schulman tweet that I'd like to just read. Twitter yesterday, polling is dead, cancel the quants. Twitter today, exit polls reveal third generation Uzbeks from the Atumwa exurbs betrayed us by 1.7 points. I think that everybody's got to take a deep breath on the exits. Okay, the polling was off. And this is a very weird year to do exits, and it takes a long time to reweight them back to what the actual result was. I think there are a lot of other surveys that you get, CCNS, I think of those after the election that are much bigger surveys. So I take a deep breath on the exits. That said, let's say the exits are true about the Republican vote. A big part of that is that a lot of these folks have left the party over the last 4 years, and that there has been a realignment of people like me, urban living, college-educated Republican white guys, to being basically Democrats now, and a realignment the other way of non-college white and Hispanic men who used to be Democrats who are now basically Republicans. So you can not like that trade if you want, but like that trade has happened, and so you have to win an election based on that. And if you look at if instead you take the exits away and you look at the county data. Look at the conservative suburbs of Milwaukee, Detroit, Phoenix, Houston, Tampa. These were Biden's best areas, okay? Like, this was not like liberals moving into exurban Milwaukee from Chicago. Like, that's not the reason why Joe Biden did better in Washington County. On the far edges of Milwaukee, he did better because it's these college-educated Republicans who abandon it. Some of them will go back. Some of them have particularly, I think, if you look at the Atlanta burbs, the women in the Atlanta suburbs, like, they're gone, like, they're Democrats now. So anyway, look, I think that there are things that you can criticize anybody for, a lot of those groups for. I think if you look back at what Lincoln did, some money went down the tubes and Senate races ended up being not that close. But if you look at the presidential, the Republican voters against Trump that we were talking to are the reason why Joe Biden's going to be the president. I mean, Joe Biden's going to be the president for 3 reasons. The Republicans who left in the suburbs, black turnout, and the city was up. And a small portion of the Reagan Dems, the Obama-Trump Dems in places like Macomb County, Detroit, have come back. That's it. That's how we offset the loss among Hispanic voters. So you can't say on the one hand, oh my goodness, we lost Hispanic voters, that's a crisis, and on the other hand, oh, we shouldn't even try to get these Republicans in the suburbs. Like, you needed one of those groups. You didn't get the Hispanics. You got the Republicans. So. Regardless what you think about the strategy, like, that worked, and that's Biden's coalition. Maybe that's not the Democratic coalition forever, but that's what it is today.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think if you look at why Biden's going to win Pennsylvania, and why Hillary Clinton lost Pennsylvania, there's 2 components of the explanation to that. One is black turnout, but the other is marginal increases in the people Tim and Sarah Longwell have been trying to reach in counties all over rural and suburban, particularly suburban Pennsylvania. And that you saw that in Ohio, you see that in Wisconsin and in Michigan, and you flip 70,000 votes in each of these states, and you increase turnout in the cities in these states, and that's the difference between winning by 100,000 votes in Pennsylvania and losing by 100,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And how much of it is attributable to one and how much of it is attributable to the other, we're not going to know for a number of months and a lot of political science. But look, the fact that Georgia is in play and Democrats may well win Georgia, has 2 explanations. One is marginal Republican voters in suburbs, and the other is Stacey Abrams. And
Bingo.
if you take one of those things away, I am not confident. Like, we barely won this thing. I am not confident without those two factors we win this thing. And you know, when I first posited the idea of a coalition of all democratic forces, this is exactly what I was talking about. That we have to be a big enough tent that all people, that the coalition is defined by opposition to Trumpism. It's not defined by a left-right thing. It's not defined by, but I really think this election result is a, you know, I know there are Bernie bros who are going to say, why did we let these people in the door? Because the Tim Millers are really scary. But I don't look at these election results and see how it's possible without the contribution of people who knew how to talk to the marginal Republican voter in suburban areas.
I just want two other quick anecdotes.
Yeah,
on
go
that.
ahead.
I tweeted an Omaha story. Omaha, Nebraska 2, which was a pickup. Okay, the Republican congressman won there. Biden won. And, you know, the reporter on the ground there in Omaha was interviewing a local guy who said, I read the National Review for 30 years, and I just couldn't get there on Trump. So I put in Biden because Trump just was too, you know, he just was too aberrant. So that was real. Like, those voters are the reason why Biden got that electoral vote. And then the other thing is, when you look at the data of Republican voters, like, probably it's true that 90 to 95% of Republicans nationwide voted for Trump, but that doesn't really matter that much when, if you look at the Bucks County outside Philly data, if 20% of Republicans voted for Biden in Bucks, right? Like, that is where the swing was. And so if 100% of Republicans voted for Trump in, you know, Oklahoma, like, that's going to be in the exit data, and like, that's fine. I wish we would have gotten more of them, but in these key areas, this is where it mattered. So I'll get off my soapbox on that.
I have like one
Eric?
last anecdote. Sorry. One quick anecdote to kind of like to even this all out. So I made a joke before about my Trump-loving neighbors, but I love my Trump-loving neighbors. They were like second parents to me growing up, and like, we don't talk about politics a ton, and I went over and checked on them today. And I don't know who she voted for. I know who he probably voted for, but I don't know who she voted for. But her big thing was just like, I hope all of this can just be, I hope that we can have some peace. She's like, I don't even care who's elected. Like, I just want some peace to everything. And I think a lot of, I know that's, again, not a completely like fresh or new anecdote, but the way she said it was just so like, kind of like, you know, I still don't know who she voted for. I don't know like what happened, but she's just like, she was like, I don't care who wins. I just like hope that whatever happens, there's like some more, there's quietness, and like we can kind of go back to politics as usual, which is to say that like, I think a lot of people are just so ready for that. Like, they're just ready for some calm. Like, and then she followed this up by like shitting all over Nancy Pelosi, to which I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. And so too Mitch McConnell, to which she was like, you're completely right. And so too Mitch McConnell, they are the problem. But they are the problem. Like, and like, this is like, and none of that is going to change, unfortunately, with this election. But I don't know. I am hopeful, given who Biden is, that maybe there will be some type of move to the center that is good for both the parties and for the House and Senate. Just in terms of just like the ethos. I just feel like everything about the last 4 years made people draw lines in the sand in blood. And like, it just was like, it's just been like a dirty game, like ever since that. And like, you know, no holds barred. And I just am ready for it to go back to kind of a more sane level of like logic and reason. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Eric, right as Ben was about to introduce you, but it's so nice to see you again.
Tim, just FYI, Eric Berg is the chairman of a county Democratic Party in Idaho.
Cool.
So the challenge we ran into this year is, you know, we do a lot of local races like county commissioner, We lost with a great public servant up against someone who literally his campaign was I'm pro-Trump, which doesn't have a lot to do with county commissioner, oddly enough. So how can local parties model the Republican voters against Trump approach of creating kind of permission structures and strategies to get voters to prioritize competence in the job that the person's running for over party affiliation?
So I'll start with the bad news. It's a good question. I'll start with the bad news. It's tough right now. I mean, our politics has gotten so nationalized. There's this old Tip O'Neill quote about how all politics is local, and it's just that it's flipped on its head. And our politics has become this sort of cultural totem for people, where they have a team, and it's really, frankly, dangerous in a lot of ways, where people are like, go so far as to root for the fact that it's the other team whenever there's a shooting or an extreme happening, and that the team has to extend to, I don't watch the NBA anymore because I'm a Republican. So it's infecting a lot of parts of the culture, and it's infecting local politics. And so that is going to be the biggest thing to overcome as an Idaho Democrat. I'd say there are two things. One thing that I would do is find a wedge topic in your state that is going to appeal to Republicans. I mean, there is surely a mismanagement, some issue that's going wrong that people can relate to in their lives. Maybe it's related to the virus and the management of the schools and the opening, and try to build a coalition around that. That's one way to do. And the other thing that I'd recommend on this permission structure is trying to recruit candidates who are willing to demonstrate to these voters that they do share something with them, right? I think that both parties, and I don't really care about the Republican Party anymore, so this is my advice to the Democratic Party, but both parties have really struggled at finding their Joe Manchins and their Charlie Bakers at these state levels. And it's because the national parties become so polarized that, people don't want to give small dollar money to a pro-life Democrat or to a pro-gun Democrat, and that's tough. And so, at a local level, trying to recruit people who, it's the listener, the Republican listener, is much more likely to hear you if he starts with, "Hey, by the way, I'm with you on guns," or "By the way, I'm with you on whatever." Just something. It's got to be something. And I think that can open the door to maybe a conversation on something that they're not happy about about their local Republican, office, and that's going to be the only way that Democrats do it. Besides, more people moving to Boise, which is happening too. So
it's a beautiful place to live.
All right, David Botts, you get the last question before we turn to the Lisa Page puppet.
Excellent. Super glad to see you, Tim. Welcome back. And thanks for taking my question. I'd like to building on the discussion you just had about recruiting Democrats and politicians, if we expand that a moment to look at the more macro picture about building bridges between people, given the level of division and partisanship that really, it hurts people. It divides families, and people are like angry at each other, that's not good, right? So I'm interested in your thoughts, all of your thoughts about what represents a start toward building reconciliation, even if we're not going to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Yeah. I'm hoping that Joe Biden is a start. And the problem is Trump was so grotesque in every way that it was really hard to find common ground with somebody that enabled him, that said that they were okay with his bigotry, frankly. So hopefully Joe Biden can be a start at taking down the temperature. But I honestly don't have an answer to this question. I think that it will get slightly better just to have Trump out of the picture. But I think that the long-term trends are really, really bad, and part of it's got to be how we speak to each other. And somehow we created these amazing communications tools, and all it did was put us more and more into our own bubbles. And so somehow, when it's easier to talk to somebody who disagrees with you now than ever, we talk more and more to people who only agree with us. And that's got to be what has to change. And, hopefully some of these smart guys across the bridge from me in San Francisco can figure that out. But I don't know what else to do. Hopefully Ben or Kate has a better idea.
All right, Lisa Page Puppet, are you there?
Oh, wait. Okay. Wait, do you want me to do the Lisa Page Puppet?
The Lisa Page Puppet is now unmuted, says the Bob Mueller Puppet.
Oh, well, that's helpful. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Tim. How's it going? I can't believe you guys are already celebrating. I'm not going to lie. It makes me kind of nauseous. Like, I know it's going to happen.
We're preparing to separate. We're on the edge of glory. We're
We're
not celebrating.
Removed the champagne yet.
No, but I saw
it's
fists
in
in
my
the
fridge.
air. That's.
I was doing the Trump dance.
Oh, okay.
Young man.
Here to foot stomp Ben's like pretty calm all night, whereas at like 11:45 I started crying in my hands because I really thought that this was gonna.
That's called peeing when you cry in your pants.
No, my hands.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, I was I don't know. I cannot get over the notion that he got a larger vote count than he did 4 years ago. I don't understand that. I don't know how to explain how he gained votes. Fine, you're tribalistic. You like his crazy. You like the disruption. You're cool with chaos. Fine, but like people gravitated toward that after 4 years. Like after the sheer incompetence and abject cruelty and really indifference to anything that this country has ever stood for, I'm struggling with that. It's why I'm having a hard time finding joy even in the Biden win.
I have one agreement that also grosses me out, and I think that it doesn't bode well for the future of my former party. And anyway, I don't, and I think we all have people in our lives for whom that's true. So I don't have anything to make you feel better about this. Though, Lisa, I will say part of it is this though. And I don't know if this makes you feel better or worse, but a big part of that added vote was people who are not political. Like Donald Trump became a cultural flashpoint for people, and people who liked NASCAR or who liked whatever, like a football team. In a lot of communities, Trump was simply that. He was the entertainment. He was a sign that you were on the team that's against the elites and the heathens and the gays and the whatever it is, whatever you have grievance against in your life. And in a lot of communities, that was that. And so he got a lot of new votes from people who weren't voters, really, like from people who simply wanted to be part of the team. And that's gross in its own right, I guess. But I think that for a lot of people, they weren't really engaging on the merits of his performance as president. It was a red hat, blue hat thing.
Can I ask a kind of goofy follow-up question, which is like, is this a civic education problem? Like, I know, we don't have any sort of national standards with respect to like curriculum, and I'm not suggesting that that's an answer, but I mean, this is going to sound, obscenely naive, but I think that when you learn about America, it's like incredibly inspiring. And I don't know how you aren't pluralistic when you actually have some understanding of American history and immigration and like all of the things that make us so unique in this world. Like, I don't know. We don't have like social scientists. I guess, on the...
Can I respond to this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was talking to my neighbor today, Trump, and she was like, I think there should be term limits. And she was like, I said this to your dad, my dad, and she was like, and he seemed really upset. This was a couple of months ago. And I was like, why? Like, she's like, I think I really hurt his feelings. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, because he's an elected official. And he's a town fucking justice. He's a town judge. He runs in a local election of like literally 6,000 people elect him every year. Like there are 4 years that he is like a judge, and then he gets reelected. He has to run for reelection, and that's like part of the whole thing. And she thought that like in espousing judicial term limits for the Supreme Court of the United States, she was basically like being pro term limits for people like my dad that are in this tiny, tiny town in upstate New York in the United States of America. And I didn't know how to like say to her without making her feel dumb that like that was not actually something that like made any sense, and that the type of like term limits that we're talking about have nothing to do with people like my dad who have not like just like it's just like not the problem. And it like, and she's not a dumb person. She was an elementary school teacher for a number of years. She's like a smart, like conscientious person. But like, I do kind of like slowly come to think that like maybe there is some type of like inability to understand the basic runnings of government that make this so much like a push button issue. I don't know. Like, does that register with anyone else? Like that kind of anecdote? Like I just thought that was like profound. Like I was like, no, that's not what we're talking about with term limits. Like judges are not the same thing everywhere. Like that's not like how it works. And it was just like appalling. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about the civic side of it. I mean, I do know this: the education gap in this election and the gender gap are going to overwhelm everything else. And so there's something there, of course, but boy, I'm for civic education. I don't think it's going to solve it.
No, I don't, and I'm not suggesting that it's a solution. I just am so confounded. Right, so I was an election worker this year because I could be, and I was super stoked about it. And you know, like we had a brand new citizen voting for the first time, and like it was just, I mean, I'm a fool, so I hoot and holler and like make a big scene. I mean, it's just so profound, right? This is a person who has come and adopted this new country and is participating in its process because she believes in something that's bigger than what she came from. And I just don't I know I'm being ridiculously naive now and probably Pollyanna-ish, but I just it's hard for me to understand how that doesn't move, not that it doesn't move people, but that it is an anathema to certain portions of the population. I don't know. I have no idea.
Ben, you have been like notoriously quiet.
I've been listening. I think that civic education is important but cannot be the answer because it takes so long.
Who long?
Right? Like, we need to do it. It's really valuable. It's really important. And yet, if we wait for civic education to work, we're going to be an autocracy by the time we're all civically educated. So I think it's kind of like, you know, it's a little bit like addressing climate change. Really important to do, but it's not going to solve your contemporary problems. It's going to ameliorate or address problems for people in the future, or make the world a little bit less terrible then.
Sorry, Lisa Page Puppet. I had accidentally taped your mouth shut to display you.
Apparently, it didn't.
And I was like,
me.
why is this so difficult to puppet? Like,
because Lisa says I am done being quiet.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't tape her mouth shut.
I just got 5 of those.
We got to wrap up.
Okay.
So goodbye, Lisa Page Puppet. Tim Miller, get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, for the love of God, Tim Miller, get some sleep.
I'll get some sleep. No sleep till Biden. I'll get some sleep once we get this thing wrapped up. So Fox News decision.
I think it's going to happen tonight. I think it's going to happen tonight because it's Guy Fawkes night, and
I am looking forward to the mask being burned. But like, what if people take that up as some anti-mask like rhetoric or something? Ben, if you
it's a Guy Fawkes mask. They can take it as anti-Edward Snowden.
I'm gonna watch V for Vendetta.
They can take it as against Anonymous. But it is not We're going to wear appropriate masks. It is not, but you're supposed to burn an effigy of Guy Fawkes on bonfire night. Come on. All right.
Tim.
We're going to be back tomorrow. I have no idea who the guest is going to be because we're winging that shit, man. But we will be back
kisses at everyone.
22 hours, 57
people are telling me
from
nice
now.
things.
Happy
Tim Miller,
birthday.
you're a great American. And
a stellar American. A very sleepless American.
In many future lives, you will be rewarded for your sacrifices in this one. And we will be back tomorrow.
You're going to come back as a hedgehog.
Yeah, or like as a golden retriever or something.
Hedgehogs are
like
good too. They're very cute.
Yeah. Until then, we don't have fun anymore. But tonight, every now and then, the good guys win.
We have Ben's
one.
birthday.
And don't, just give yourself that because...
Give yourself Ben's birthday.
Ding Dong the Witch was defeated, and that's not something to ameliorate, not something to pretend is smaller than it is. Bye, everybody.
It's true.
Amen, brother.
Bye, guys.